Hi there, Steve Kaufman here. Today, I want to talk about the power of reading, and I'm going to explain why I'm on this subject. First of all, today is December the 10th here in Vancouver. A week from now, I will be in Fez, Morocco. I am hoping, now I know they don't speak the same Arabic as I've been learning. They speak Moroccan Arabic, and I'm not going to bother trying to learn it because I'm only going to be there 6 days, 5 days. I'm going to see if I can find, taxi drivers or city guides who speak Fusha, who speak standard Arabic, so that I can get a, guide of the city or a tour to some of the outskirts or nearby sites with someone who speaks standard Arabic. In any case, I'm going to look for people, or I might just find a tutor. I want to speak Arabic. I'm going to read Arabic, and but of course, I'm going to be surrounded by people who speak quite a different form of Arabic. But it will be a comfort to me that I'll be able to read, at least to some extent. And I definitely feel that I'm turning the corner in my ability to read Arabic. And I think reading is key, is so important in language learning. Stephen Krashen always talks about extensive voluntary reading, extensive reading. I remember I was at a presentation where teachers were talking about story listening as a strategy in the classroom, and the goal was to get the students motivated so that they would read. Reading enables us to consume so much of the language inexpensively by borrowing books at the library or whatever, or finding stuff on the internet. Reading is a phenomenal way of learning languages. Reading is a phenomenal way of learning anything. And if we look back in time, of course, before there was writing, all we had was storytelling, and storytellers in many cultures would simply repeat the stories to the next generation and the next generation, and that's how we have, Homer's Ulysses and the Iliad and so forth and so on, Odyssey, the Odyssey and the Iliad and stuff like that. And similar traditions in other cultures in Southeast Asia and elsewhere. So writing, which began, I think, more to record stocks of grain, it was more like an accounting thing. And that was true in Mesopotamia. It was even true when I was in Cusco, and I learned about the original sort of writing system of the Incas, which was knots in a rope or things of that nature. So it was, writing was a means of recording things that otherwise would have had to be maintained orally. So if people had invented MP3 technology before writing, maybe we would never have moved towards writing. I don't know. But writing is a way of recording speech. And so when we are reading, we are ingesting words. We are ingesting, hopefully, interesting content. And certainly there's a lot of work now being done to improve literacy even in developed countries, because a significant percentage of the population in all developed countries doesn't read very well. And the better people read, the better they do economically, academically. A high percentage of people in prison have low literacy. There's studies that show that maybe a quarter of kids start school with a sort of reading gap that they will never ever catch up on, because their parents didn't read to them, or because the parents didn't use a wide vocabulary at home, or for any number of reasons. And then there's the problem of dyslexia. And someone commented to Link this week, and they said, I have never been able to read a book because I have severe dyslexia. But using Link, and I think probably on a mobile device, and using the sentence mode so that he breaks down text into one sentence at a time, and being able to hear the words text to speech, any word that he has trouble reading. He has read 5 Russian novels in 1 year, this learner of ours. And I thought to myself, it's true that Link helps you read, because for me, reading Arabic is a bit like being dyslexic, because first of all, to some extent in English, you can't necessarily tell how a word is pronounced just by the way it's spelled, but that's much more of a problem in Arabic, where in many of the texts the vowels are not indicated, so you just have consonants, and you don't know whether it's an O or an U or an E in between the consonants. And plus, I'm still getting used to these letters, and I still confuse some of them. And so I might be like the dyslexic reader, but I am able to read by looking words up, by clicking on the text-to-speech, and then hearing the natural voice. And slowly, this improves my ability to read to the point where now I can pick up a paper book, which I did for this. I had bought this Harrop's Méthode Express for learning Arabic, and the font is so small I couldn't read it to save my life, but now I can read it. And I think that the same is true, could be true for people who suffer from dyslexia. At any rate, I would like to find out one day if what we do at Link and the functionality there would be helpful to people who are dyslexic or people who have trouble with literacy. But in any case, reading is probably the most efficient, least cost way of acquiring information. And I should say too that reading is like listening without the audio, because very often, especially if it's a foreign language, we are sub-vocalizing as we are reading. And conversely, when I hear a word, the image that I have is the written word. So if it were English and I think of the word red, I don't see the color red, I see R-E-D. And when I listen to Arabic now, more and more I am able to visualize the written word that corresponds to that spoken word, if I know the word. If I don't know the word, I can't do that. So I have that kind of a relationship to Arab words. I have to know them. I can't necessarily read an unknown word and pronounce it correctly all by myself. But I am able to connect the sounds of certain words to the way those words are written. So all I'm getting at in all of this is, people think they're going to talk their way to fluency. As you know, I'm not a big fan of that. I think that you read and listen your way to a significant potential level in a language, and then you go out and expose yourself to as much opportunity to speak as possible, but you are at least starting from a position of strength because you have this vocabulary, this familiarity with the language, this ability to connect written words to spoken words and so forth, so that your speaking skills grow quite quickly. Again, my previous video was about this eikaiwa in Japan, and someone said, well, in Japan they need more practice at speaking because they can all read. I have not found that to be the case. When I speak to people who claim that they can read well, whether they be from Asia or anywhere, and then I say, well, have you read any novels recently in English? Do you read? What do you read besides the odd newspaper article? They don't read very much. So when I'm talking about reading, I'm talking about, for example, my statistics in Russian where I read 3 million words, like lots of reading. Reading is a powerful way and an inexpensive way to improve your language skills. And it's also an extremely important skill for life. So that's kind of what and it was all inspired by this fellow who claimed that he had heavy dyslexia and had been able to read 5 Russian novels in a year. And of course, he's a learner of Russian. So, and using the kind of functionality that we have at Link and that others may also have. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.